Off the top, a flurry of Supreme Court decisions on hot-button issues as the justices take the bench for a brand new term. First, a victory for Anne Arundel County. The county requires gun shop owners to display leaflets on suicide prevention and peaceful conflict resolution. The shop owners challenged the law, arguing that it violates their First Amendment right to be free from compelled speech. After losing in 2 federal courts, the shop owners made a final appeal to the justices, and this week the court declined to hear their challenge. And that means the leaflets stay put.
This is not preventing people from purchasing firearms. It's not. It's good. It's good business practice. We hope that they'll start to see it that way. Other businesses want to make sure that their clientele are safe and that they're not harmed by the products they're purchasing. And let's hope that gun dealers feel the same way.
Pittman says suicides dropped in the county the year the policy was put in place, but then went back up again before dropping once more so far this year. Mark Pennack, the head of Maryland Shall Issue, who represented the challengers in the case, says we're disappointed in the court's decision to deny review of this important First Amendment issue. This denial of the petition, though, doesn't address the merits, and the court may well take up these questions in the future should governments continue to compel speech in this manner. These issues are far from resolved, he says. The court also rejected Elon Musk's plea over special counsel Jack Smith's search warrant for former President Donald Trump's private messaging on X. Prosecutors told X that they could not tell Trump about the request, something Musk argued violated the First Amendment. This was part of Smith's investigation of Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election leading up to and on January 6th, when Trump sent out several communications on the social media platform while his supporters were storming the Capitol. In this case, Smith and his team argue that the Fourth Amendment actually wins out here because it allows the government to search innocent third parties if the warrant is supported by probable cause that evidence of a crime will be found. Now, remember, it takes 4 justices to agree to hear a case. Musk fell short of that number. The court also rejected the Biden administration's appeal to allow some emergency abortions in Texas. The administration says Texas's near total ban on abortion conflicts with a law that requires most hospitals to provide emergency stabilizing care to patients in the emergency room. That sometimes requires an abortion. A Texas judge blocked the Biden administration from enforcing that law, and this week the Supreme Court kept that decision in place. Texas was one of the 20-plus states to enact abortion bans after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022. The court also rejected an IVF clinic's appeal out of Alabama in a case that sparked a nationwide controversy over the fertility treatment. The Alabama Supreme Court ruled that couples whose frozen embryos were accidentally destroyed could actually sue the IVF clinic for wrongful death of their minor child. Now, the clinic argued that an unimplanted in vitro embryo is not a child and that it would violate due process and fair notice to allow that kind of claim to proceed. The clinic appealed directly to the Supreme Court, but the justices declined to hear the case with no noted dissents. And on Tuesday, the Supreme Court heard a major case on so-called ghost guns, guns without serial numbers that can be assembled from a kit you can order online or receive through the mail. Police use serial numbers to track guns that are used in crimes. And 2 years ago, the Biden administration made a rule to crack down on the, quote, exponential rise of ghost guns, according to the administration. And that basically means they want people who sell ghost guns and the kits you can buy to make them to have to follow the same rules as federally licensed gun dealers. That means background checks and serial numbers. Now, the challengers here, they don't even agree on the language in this case. Instead of ghost guns, they call them privately made guns, and they argue that the Biden administration just doesn't have the power to make up this rule. Part of the issue is how do you classify an unassembled gun in a kit, just the pieces that can be put together to build a gun. Now, that led to some helpful, if not hungry, analogies during oral argument.
I put out on a counter some eggs, some chopped up ham, some chopped up pepper and onions. Is that a Western omelet?
No, because again, those items have well-known other uses to become something other than an omelet. The key difference here is that these weapon parts kits are designed and intended to be used as instruments of combat, and they have no other conceivable use.
We should note that these arguments happened just before the lunch hour. Now, the administration's lawyer is arguing that the gun kits have only one intended use: to make a gun. So they should have to follow the rules that other gun dealers have to follow. But then Justice Amy Coney Barrett chimed in, reminding us all that justices can be just like the rest of us.
I just want to follow up on Justice Alito's question about the omelet. Would your answer change if you ordered it from HelloFresh and you got a kit and it was like turkey chili, but all of the ingredients are in the kit?
Yes, and I think that that presses on the more apt analogy here, which is that we are not suggesting that scattered components that might have some entirely separate and distinct function could be aggregated and called a weapon in the absence of this kind of evidence that that is their intended purpose and function. But if you bought, from Trader Joe's some omelet making kit that had all of the ingredients to make the omelet and maybe included whatever you would need to start the fire in order to cook the omelet and had all of that objective indication that that's what's being marketed and sold, we would recognize that for what it is.
The court will issue their decision in this case likely early next year. Meantime, in Georgia, as we predicted last week, the state Supreme Court pressed pause on a judge's decision striking down the state's near total ban on abortion. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney said the law violates the state constitution's guarantee of liberty. And this is actually the second time McBurney has struck down the law. In 2022, McBurney said the law was invalid because it was enacted before the Supreme Court overturned Roe. And now it's the second time the state Supreme Court has stepped in to halt his order that would have allowed abortions in the state up to about 22 weeks of pregnancy.